Resident Evil 5 appears to be the forgotten game of the Resident Evil series, at least as the number games go. We're talking like 0, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? It appears like Resident Evil 5 falls in this weird category where people love 2, they hate the 3 remake, they love 4 and 4 remake, and they love 7. A lot of people like 8, and 5 just kind of falls into this abyss. Resident Evil 5 is like the sleeping dogs of the Resident Evil series. It's a very linear game, doesn't have a whole lot of issues, doesn't have a whole lot of things that it did great. It had a lot of things that it did good though. Has a very straightforward story, nothing crazy about the soundtrack, has the best villain in the entire Resident Evil series, Wesker, and Resident Evil 5 has one of the best things ever, co-op. So there's not a whole lot to complain about outside of the racial allegations that keeps hitting Resident Evil 5 every few years or so. Every few years or so, a whole bunch of people come on and talk about how the game is placed in Africa, and I'm not even getting all that, but y'all get my point. Playing Resident Evil 5, my favorite thing about the game was playing in co-op. If you play single player with just the AI, you will understand why this game was meant to be played co-op. And what's also great about Resident Evil 5 is that you can't really get lost. It's a very linear game. It's very linear. It's not like 2. It's not like the other ones where you can kind of get lost or you can kind of get, can't really happen in that one. Very straightforward, which is why I compared it to Sleeping Dogs. The gameplay mechanics of Resident Evil 5 are very solid. Now we have to keep in mind this game came out quite some time ago. It's over 10 years old. So when you're comparing the gameplay mechanics to today's game, it looks really stiff and kind of weird. But at the time that it came out, these mechanics were pretty solid. I also think RE5 did a great job in showing the importance of collaboration. You can trade weapons with your partner. You can trade weapons and ammo with your partner. You can do different things like that. So it makes the game, it gives you more of a reason to play couch co-op. However, where I think RE5 could have done a little bit better at, and this is just my opinion, they could have introduced Wesker's son, or at least introduced Wesker's son's mom. Like kind of find some funny way of hinting at that relationship or something. I think that'd have been super cool because obviously Jake Mueller is one of the main characters of RE6. I will also say that the camera angles in RE5 can be frustrating. Like sometimes you're shooting at an enemy but you can't see him. It can get a little bit weird in that way. Again, I feel like these are minute things, especially comparing it to the time in which it was released. We always have to keep that in mind. Like my first time playing this game was now. Like I didn't play this when it came out. This is one of the games that I saw friends playing, but I never got into myself. Now fans have been asking, will there be a RE5 remake? And it's possible, but because of the controversy tied to the racial elements that people are like consistently pointing at, it's going to be really hard to do that. And I also think that if you're going to do anything, like I said with RE6, it's probably more of a reboot. You probably want to change some core things about it. Keep like the mechanics there, keep certain things there, upgrade certain things obviously, but you might want to change that racial element and make it more, I guess, neutral. But I think a remake is possible. They would just have to be real strategic on how they do it. But also, I think Resident Evil 5 also falls into this pitfall of introducing cool characters and then we never see them again. Shiva was pretty cool. She was a pretty cool character. Had a nice little backstory. I would like to learn more about her, obviously, but we don't see her again. And 6 comes out, 7 comes out, 8 comes out. We don't hear or see about her ever again. One thing I think we overlook is that being solid is how a lot of people get forgotten. Now let me explain this. You remember things that are really bad. That's why RE6 gets such hate, right? Because people generally consider it a bad Resident Evil game. You remember things that are great. Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 2 Remake, the original Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil 0, 7. These are generally considered great by most people. But because RE5 is just really good, it's just a really good game. It's not great, it's not terrible, it just falls right in this median somewhere. People tend to overlook it. People tend to not talk about it. People tend to not bring it up. It's just one of those things that I see consistently getting overlooked. Now, when we talk about action-based Resident Evil games, people bring it up all the time because that's what is generally considered. But I will say that I think that it does a little bit more than just being an action game. I think it does a lot of great things. I think where Resident Evil 5, another element of Resident Evil 5 really shines at, is that, yeah, there's some drastic cut scenes and action scenes, but I feel more involved in those. Whereas though Resident Evil 6, with some of those drastic cut scenes, I feel like I'm just watching a movie. I feel like I'm just watching something. Like after you shoot something, boom, here comes a dramatic cut scene. Whereas though in 5, you're involved. Car coming, you shoot the barrel, car flips. Like, you feel like you're involved in it. And I think RE5 is one of those games that once you get past all the extra noise and nonsense, you start to really admire how good of a game it is. Another great element about RE5 is the graphics. The graphics are amazing. Like, the graphics are great. The colors are great. The scenes are great, right? At one point, you're in the goddamn, like, you're in like a lake, like a pool with crocodiles, right? Like, although there's not a really horror element to RE5, there is a thriller element to RE5, a surprise element to RE5, like a fear. There's some fear there, but it's not horror based at all. These are the ways that you make an action based Resident Evil game while still holding on to core Resident Evil principles. RE5 did a really good job at being an action based game, but holding on to some key principles that make Resident Evil Resident Evil. This is where RE6 left. It went completely off the rails. A lot of core principles, like, you don't have to necessarily be horror based, but there should be some sort of thriller element to it, where it's like, what's going to happen next? Where are we? Are we slowing down now? Are we speeding up now? Like, these are kinds of things that RE5 did a great job with. It's one of those, again, I keep going back to Sleeping Dogs. It's one of those games where it's like, oh damn, is this the best game ever? Absolutely not. But this is a very solid game that I can play over and over again to try to platinum it and get different things here and there. Now, I could be wrong by this, but I think RE5 is one of, if not the first, one of the first Resident Evil games to incorporate online play. Because you don't have to do couch co-op, you can do online co-op. So I think that's really, really dope. And so I think this is one of the games that did so many things good, not a lot of things great, that it just kind of falls under the rug. But it's a really, really good game that if you are a Resident Evil fan, you should play this, but only play it on co-op. You're gonna want to break your controller if you play with the AI. The AI in Resident Evil, in terms of helping you, has been terrible consistently. They have not improved on that ever. And I think that if there's any type of co-op, anything in 9 with the AI or with an actual person, if it's just AI, let them be half decent. If you have played Resident Evil 5, do me a favor, go in the comments and let me know what you think of the game. What does it rank amongst from Resident Evil 0 to Resident Evil 8? Is it a really good game? Is it decent to you? Did you really enjoy it? And if you haven't played RE5, I want to know why. I want to know, how did you miss this one? Because this is a really good one.